Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something today. Never, and I mean never, tell people what you do. You see, when you start telling folks your plans, your goals, your dreams, your moves, you're inviting opinions, doubts, and distractions that you never asked for. And trust me, not everybody you talk to wants to see you win. Now, I'm not saying don't be proud of yourself. I'm not saying don't celebrate your blessings, but there's a difference between showing up and showing off. Some of y'all out here announcing every step like life is a press conference. You got to learn how to move in silence. Work in the dark and let the light of your results do the talking, because when people see it, when the success shows up, they can't deny it, they can't debate it, and they can't take credit for it. Silence protects your dreams from premature judgment, because dreams are fragile when they're first born. When an idea is still forming in your heart and mind, it doesn't have the strength to survive the weight of outside opinions. When you tell people too early what you're planning or building, you expose something delicate to a world that might not understand it. And let's be honest, not everyone is rooting for you. Some people act like they support you, but deep down they're hoping you'll fail. That's why it's dangerous to announce every intention before it's even had the chance to grow legs. There's something powerful about keeping your vision close to your chest. When you stay quiet, you protect that inner fire. You protect your focus. You give yourself time and space to build without distraction, without judgment, and without the pressure of other people watching. Because once you open your mouth and tell someone what you're doing, now there are expectations. Now people are watching to see if you fail, if you quit, if you make it, and that pressure can get heavy. Sometimes the weight of expectations from others becomes heavier than the goal you were reaching for in the first place. Silence is not about hiding. It's not about being ashamed of what you're doing. It's about being wise. Because some people don't deserve to know your next move. They haven't earned the right to hear your vision. And some people, the moment they hear your idea, they'll start planting seeds of doubt. They'll say things like, "Are you sure that'll work?" Or "That seems too hard." Or "I don't think people like us do stuff like that." All that negative energy starts seeping into your mind, and before you know it, you're second guessing something that once lit a fire in you. That's what happens when you speak too soon. You also have to understand that most people only see the world through their own limitations. If they couldn't do it, they assume you can't either. If they failed at it, they'll expect you to fail too. But your dream isn't theirs. Your journey isn't theirs. Your fire didn't come from them. It came from something greater. It came from purpose. And that purpose deserves time to grow strong before it's shared with anyone. Keeping quiet gives you room to build without the noise. No comparisons, no distractions, just pure, focused effort. There's also a psychological power in silence. When you don't talk about your goals all the time, you stay hungry. You stay in grind mode. Talking about goals can trick your brain into feeling like you already did something, even when you haven't done a thing. But when you stay silent, you stay uncomfortable. You stay sharp. You keep reminding yourself, "I haven't earned the right to celebrate yet." That mindset creates real progress. That's how you build something solid from the ground up. Without hype, without noise, without applause. And when the time finally comes to reveal what you've been working on, it speaks for itself. People will be shocked by how far you've come. They'll be surprised by the strength of what you built. And the best part, you won't have to explain a thing. You won't have to justify your journey. The work will do all the talking. And that moment of quiet victory is worth more than all the early recognition in the world, because silence protected your dream long enough for it to become something unshakable, something real, something powerful. People often discourage what they can't understand. And that's a truth you come to learn very quickly when you start chasing something bigger than what the world is used to seeing. The moment you step outside the box, the moment you start talking about goals that stretch beyond the limits of average thinking, you'll start noticing people pulling back. You'll hear the doubt in their voices, even if they try to mask it with a smile. That's because your vision intimidates people who've never seen beyond their own limits. It challenges them. It forces them to face the fact that they gave up on their own dreams, and rather than deal with that pain, they'd rather talk you out of yours. A lot of people live in fear, fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of stepping out and falling flat on their face. So when you come around with a big dream, a new idea, a vision they've never even imagined, it shakes something inside them. They don't know how to process it, so they attack it. They say things like, that's not realistic, or if it were that easy, everyone would do it. But they're not trying to protect you. They're trying to protect their own comfort zone. They're trying to make sure you don't expose the truth that they never even tried. Their words aren't based on facts. They're based on fear, regret, and limitation. People tend to measure your dreams by their own abilities. If they don't think they could do it, they assume you can't either. They project their insecurities onto your journey, and if you're not careful, you'll start believing them. That's why it's so dangerous to share too much too soon, because if your dream is still in its beginning stages, if it's still vulnerable, those words of doubt can start to chip away at your confidence. Even if you are fully committed, the wrong voice at the wrong time can make you pause. And once you hesitate, momentum gets lost. And once momentum gets lost, so does motivation. Sometimes the discouragement doesn't come from people trying to hurt you. It comes from the people closest to you who think they're protecting you. Your family, your friends, your co-workers. They'll say they're just looking out for you, but the truth is most of them are looking at your life through the lens of safety, not purpose. They want you to play it safe, get a secure job, stick to what you know, don't risk too much. But safe has never created anything legendary. Safe never built a dream. Safe never changed a life. If you let those voices in, you handing your future to people who never dare to chase their own. And that's why you've got to learn how to smile and stay silent. Keep your dream protected until it's ready to be seen. Because when people see results, they stop asking questions. When they see you succeed, they don't need explanations. But in the early stages, before anything is visible, you have to be your own believer. You have to be the one who sees the future clearly even when nobody else can. You've got to shut out the noise and tune into your vision. Because if you wait for people to understand before you move, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. The only person who truly needs to understand your vision is you. You were given that dream for a reason. You saw it, you felt it, it lit something up inside you that nobody else can touch. That's not by accident, that's by design. Not everyone's going to see it, and they're not supposed to. It wasn't sent to them, it was sent to you. And when they try to talk you out of it, remind yourself they never walked through. See it and remind yourself they're not qualified to speak on what they've never walked through. They're not your judge, and they're definitely not your guide. Keep building quietly and let your results be the only explanation you ever need. Let your results speak louder than your words. Because in a world full of noise, promises, and talk, the only thing that truly holds weight is proof. People talk all day about what they're going to do, what they plan to achieve, what they're working on. But most of that talk leads to nothing. It's empty. It's performance. And after a while, people stop listening. But when you move in silence and let your actions speak, the results become undeniable. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to prove yourself through arguments or debates. You simply show them, and that silence backed by evidence is more powerful than any speech. The reason results are more powerful than words is because results cannot be faked. You can fake confidence. You can fake hype. You can even fake excitement. But you can't fake consistency. You can't fake outcome. You can't fake transformation. When the work is real, it shows. When the discipline is real, it reflects. You can't hide results, and once they show up, they become louder than any announcement you could have made. There's no need to prove your worth to anyone when you've got a life that proves it for you. People may have doubted you in the beginning, but they can't deny the reality that success brings with it. When you're always talking about what you're going to do, you place yourself in a position where others are watching and waiting for you to fail, waiting for you to fall short, waiting for the results that may never come because you spend more time talking than doing. But when you work in silence, you build without pressure. You allow yourself to make mistakes, to learn, to grow behind the scenes. You don't owe anyone updates or explanations. You just keep showing up and doing the work, and one day the outcome is so undeniable that it silences every voice that ever doubted you. There's also a mental strength that comes with value and action over words. It means you're more focused on the process than the perception. You're not working for applause. You're not chasing validation. You're grounded in the grind. You're locked into the mission. And because of that, your energy goes where it matters most, toward building, creating, executing. You're not wasting time convincing people to believe in you. You're too busy becoming the person they said you couldn't be. And when you do that, your results become the loudest message you could ever send. People remember what you've done, not what you said you would do. Talk fades fast, but legacy lasts. Results leave a trail. They leave an impact. And even your critics have no choice but to respect what you've built, because truth doesn't need support to stand. It just needs to be revealed. So many people spend their lives trying to be seen instead of trying to be solid. They post, they brag, they talk, and still have nothing to show for it. But the real movers, the real builders, the real winners, they let the work introduce them. They let the results walk into the room before their name ever does. When your results speak for you, there's nothing left to debate. People can argue with your words, but they can't argue with your success. They can question your motives, your plans, your decisions, but they can't question consistent outcomes. And the best part is, when you let your results speak, they echo far beyond what words ever could. They open doors, they shift opinions, and they build respect in a way that talking never will. The quiet worker always has the last word. Not because they talk the most, but because they prove the most. Talking too much gives others the power to interfere, because when you constantly share your thoughts, ideas, plans, and strategies, you're opening a door for people to influence your direction, intentionally or unintentionally. You might think you're just being transparent or getting feedback, but what you're really doing is allowing someone else's mindset to enter your process. And once their opinion gets inside your head, it can cloud your judgment. You begin second-guessing your instincts. You start wondering if you're making the right move. And that little hesitation can be the difference between progress and procrastination. Every time you speak your next move, you give it away. You put it out into a space where it can be misinterpreted, criticized, or challenged by people who don't understand your path. Not everyone has your vision. Not everyone has your hunger. And most definitely, not everyone wants you to succeed. When you talk too much, you expose your intentions to people who may not have your best interests at heart. They may act like they care, but deep down, some are hoping you never reach that next level, because your growth will remind them of their own stagnation. There's something sacred about keeping your moves private. Your ideas are like seeds. In the early stages, they need protection. They need time to take root, to develop strength before they face the elements. If you keep pulling the seed out of the soil to show it to people, it never grows. And when you share too early, you invite commentary and doubt into something that's not ready for it. People will start telling you how to do it their way. They'll impose their beliefs, their fears, their limitations onto something you were called to do in your own unique way. That interference, even when well-meaning, can throw you off course. Sometimes the interference doesn't come as direct criticism. It comes in the form of distraction. You talk about your plans and suddenly everyone's asking for updates. They want to know what step you're on, how much you completed, and what comes next. Now, instead of being focused on execution, you're busy trying to satisfy curiosity. You're trying to give progress reports to people who aren't contributing to the work, and that's time and energy taken away from your actual mission. The more you talk, the more you perform. The more you perform, the less you produce. You have to guard your goals like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your goals are tied to your purpose. They represent the life you're trying to build, the person you're trying to become. Talking too much can delay that transformation. It can shift your focus from building to explaining. And when you get caught up in explaining, you lose momentum. You get stuck justifying yourself to people who will never understand where you headed because they've never left where they are. There's a kind of quiet power that comes with keeping your vision to yourself. It builds confidence from the inside out. When you don't need external validation to keep going, you develop strength. You learn to trust your own voice. You stop looking for approval and start depending on action. And in that silence, something amazing happens. You gain clarity. You begin to see what really matters. You stop being influenced by what others think you should do, and you start following what you know you must do. Every time you withhold your plan, you protect it. You keep it from being diluted by the noise around you. And the more you do that, the more your actions become intentional. You're not chasing opinions. You're not bending your goals to fit someone else's comfort zone. You're moving in your own lane, at your own pace, guided by your own conviction. And in a world where everyone's talking, the one who listens and moves with purpose always ends up ahead. Because when you stop talking and start working, no one can interfere with a plan they can't see. Discipline is built in privacy, not performance. Because the most important work you do is often the work no one sees. It's easy to be motivated when the lights are on, when people are watching, when there's applause and recognition. But real growth doesn't happen in front of a crowd. It happens in the quiet, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the moments when no one is cheering you on. That's where discipline is formed. It's built in silence. When you choose to keep going without validation, without praise, without anyone telling you how great you are. That's the foundation of real strength. Most people think discipline is about big acts or dramatic sacrifices, but it's not. Discipline is about consistency. It's about doing the right thing over and over again, even when no one notices. It's waking up early when the bed feels too comfortable. It's saying no to distractions when every part of you wants to give in. It's choosing the hard road because you know it leads somewhere better. Those decisions don't get posted. They don't get likes, but they build something inside of you that no spotlight ever could. They build character. They build grit. They build a kind of focus that doesn't waver when things get tough. In a world that celebrates performance, it's easy to get caught up in appearances. You start thinking that if people see you doing something, then it counts more. You begin working for approval instead of working for progress. But that mindset is dangerous. It makes you dependent on other people's attention to keep going. And the moment that attention fades, so does your drive. True discipline is different. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It doesn't crave attention. It just works. It shows up day in and day out, regardless of who's watching. That's why the most successful people are often the quietest about their process. They don't need to talk about it because their results say everything. Privacy gives you space to fail without shame. When you're building something behind closed doors, you're free to make mistakes, to learn, to adjust without fear of judgment. That freedom is essential to growth. You don't have to pretend to be perfect. You don't have to meet anyone's expectations. You just have to keep showing up. And every time you do, even if you fall short, you're getting better. You're getting stronger. You've proven to yourself that your commitment runs deeper than appearances. That kind of discipline doesn't just help you succeed, it transforms who you are. Discipline built in privacy also teaches you to lead yourself. When no one is telling you what to do, when there's no schedule, no deadlines, no boss or coach pushing you, that's when your real habits are revealed. It's one thing to perform under pressure. It's another to stay consistent when the pressure is gone. That's self-leadership, that's internal drive. And that's what separates people who dabble from those who dominate. The ones who make it to the top didn't get there because they always had someone watching. They got there because they learned how to move without being seen. They learned how to stay disciplined when no one else cared if they showed up or not. There's also a kind of peace that comes with privacy. When you're not performing, you don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to prove anything. You can be fully focused on the process, not the perception. That kind of focus sharpens you. It makes your actions more intentional, your time more valuable, and your results more meaningful. You begin to value the quiet work more than the loud recognition. And in that quiet space, you find out what you're really made of. Not what people think of you, not what they expect, but what you choose to do when no one's looking and the only person holding you accountable is you. True success never needs a loud announcement because when something is real, it speaks for itself. In today's world, people are on a constant rush to show what they're doing, what they have achieved, where they're going. Social media has turned accomplishments into performances, and too often people confuse visibility with value. But real success isn't loud. It's solid. It's built quietly, patiently, and with intention. When you truly succeed at something meaningful, you don't need to shout it from the rooftops. You don't need to prove it to anyone. The results become visible in the way you carry yourself, in the life you live, in the peace you walk with. When you chase success for the sake of recognition, you build a life around applause. But applause fades. It's temporary. It comes and goes, and if you built your identity around it, you'll find yourself constantly chasing more of it just to feel worthy. That's not success, that's addiction to approval. Real success, the kind that lasts, is quiet. It doesn't demand attention. It earns it over time. It shows up in consistency, in quality, and impact. And that kind of success doesn't need to be advertised because it becomes undeniable. When you're truly succeeding, people will notice even if you never say a word. They'll see it in the changes you've made. They'll see it in the way you show up. They'll feel it in your energy, your discipline, your focus. You won't need to talk about how hard you work. They'll see the results in everything you touch. And the people who once doubted you, they won't need to hear an explanation. Your success becomes the answer. That's why the most powerful moves in life are often made in silence. There's a strength in being unbothered by who's watching, by who's listening, by who's paying attention. Too many people waste time announcing their goals, listing their plans, sharing every step of their journey before it's complete. But those constant announcements don't bring results any faster. If anything, they create pressure and distractions. They invite unnecessary opinions and open the door to doubt. Sometimes people announce their goals so much that they start feeling like they've already accomplished something just by talking about it. But talk doesn't build anything. Action does. Sacrifice does. Focus does. And none of those things require a crowd. There's something sacred about achieving something without telling the world you were even working on it. That quiet success carries more power than 1,000 promises ever could. Because when people didn't see it coming, when they didn't know what you were building, your achievement hits differently. It catches them off guard. It shifts perceptions. It humbles doubters. And it teaches a valuable lesson that the most important work is often done away from the spotlight. True success also brings a sense of inner fulfillment that doesn't need outside validation. When you know what it took to get where you are, when you felt every sacrifice, every setback, every lonely moment along the way, the reward becomes personal. You don't care if everyone knows. You don't need the congratulations. You're not looking for permission to celebrate. You're just grateful. You're grounded. And that quiet confidence becomes your loudest statement. The people who truly win in life are not the ones making the most noise. They're the ones who kept showing up when nobody noticed. They kept building when no one believed. They stayed consistent when it would have been easier to quit. And because they did the work in silence, their success speaks volumes. It echoes through their results, their growth, and the impact they leave behind. Real success doesn't ask for attention. It commands it naturally through results that can't be denied, questioned, or ignored.